Yeah, man, those 1940 games are fucking awesome.
I had a similar experience with those too. Because I'm like,
yeah,
you know, in the arcade or otherwise, it's like, I don't need it. What do I need to play one that's like some real, like not realistic, obviously, but like the sprites are all based on just planes and
I'm
like
just an airplane shooting at
military
aircraft
stuff.
This sucks.
Boring.
Yeah.
I want my sci-fi guns. I don't want a gun that looks like a gun.
Yeah. Exactly.
This
is video games. We can do whatever we want.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Pursuing Pixels. My name's Kevin Portelli, and I'm here tonight with John Hines.
Hey there.
And Randall Nolery.
Hey, folks.
And we are back as always to talk about some video games. I feel like we're all on a little bit of a retro kick lately. I don't know if that's necessarily true about John here in this case retro. In particular, but yeah, exactly. Where's
is 2001 retro?
Yes.
I would say that's like bordering on 25 years old.
Yeah, that's end of the Dreamcast era, baby. I would say so. Yeah.
It's like a different kind of retro because I mean when I think the word retro, I think, pixel art and 8-bit, 16-bit or whatever. But like realistically, when I'm buying PS2 games or Dreamcast games,
I'm crossing my fingers every time I boot up my games. GameCube. Like that feels retro to me.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I guess on that note, why don't I just let Randall kick it off here with the newest game out of all of us, even though we're on a little bit of a retro kick here.
Yeah, and that's it's definitely gameplay wise very heavily based on a game that released back in first 1989 and then 1993. So
wow.
it is also relatively retro, at least in spirit. I'm going to be talking about Night Striker Gear. It's a Taito release. It just came out, I don't know, what is time?
A week ago? 2?
Yeah, I feel like you were just telling us about it like a week or two ago. Yeah, no more than that.
Yeah, like less than a month ago for sure. And it kind of just, at least on me, just kind of dropped. Granted, I have less time to actively track game news, especially for like upcoming games and stuff these days. But like this dropped and it was just like, oh shit, this is right up my alley. Plus, the developer here being M2, it was published by Taito, but the developer being M2 always catches my interest. M2 is just, at this point to me, kind of a legendary Japanese-based developer. They are one of the best when it comes to I wouldn't call it a remake, just like basically old 80s and 90s games. They re-release them and they add features to them that they know the people that are still interested in playing those things would want, because they inherently understand what makes them good, and often will even add enhancements to the gameplay experience to make it run smoother, or put things in different modes that you couldn't have got on if those original versions were on 80s and 90s consoles. So they're still kicking. M2, I love them very much for what they do, and they are the core developer of Night Striker Gear, which is ultimately like, there's different terminology for this visual technique. John had mentioned before we started, like Mode 7, which is definitely the effect that Nintendo used with the Super Nintendo for games like Star Fox and, for like Pilot Wings and things like that. But it more kind of the scrolling into the screen effect here. It's also called like a sprite scaling effect, or super scaler is what often Sega would refer to this as for other titles, and Space Harrier would be a very
that's
apt.
The first game that comes to mind.
Yeah. Also, even like Outrun uses it to some degree. There's other games that use this effect in different ways. But ultimately, this is a shmup that you are kind of like going into the screen with your kind of, retro future looking car. Kind of looks like a DeLorean sort of car. But again, this because it's ultimately, a spiritual successor. Not even, it's an actual sequel to a game that released in '89. So it was very DeLorean coded on purpose that way. But also what's unique, kind of like Space Harrier for a shmup, besides like you're shooting, into the screen and from that like third person perspective, is that you kind of always snap back to center when you're controlling your car. So you're dodging bullets from the attacks and things like that, but you kind of know that like center is the middle of your gravity, and then you're moving your stick to left, right, or any of the diagonals to kind of get out of the way of those shots, knowing that ultimately you're gonna kind of come back to center on that. And again, that's something they always perfected with Space Harrier, but I like it even better here. There's extra elements that they've added to this Night Striker gear game where at certain points you build up this like gear meter until you get to max gear, and you're doing that by collecting these kind of little like rectangular translucent blocks that will say like gear on them that get dropped by this little like cute ducky character, or by shooting things occasionally, or if you happen to like go underneath of the bridge instead of over top of it, sort of thing. Is and there's a little bit of rote memorization there, but in a fun retro kind of way, I would say. But as you're collecting those gears, you're getting up to max gear. You have the ability to kind of go into that gear mode where you go from your DeLorean style car into kind of like an open, bigger robot character, but then your ability to rapid fire, like you could shoot, probably like 3 times as fast. And that allows you to take out a lot of the more powerful enemies that you might be facing off against, and, increase your odds of survival if you use it at the right time. Although the other side of that is your hitbox is bigger during those moments. So you have to be mindful of that, and you have to be mindful of how much gear you've kind of built up over time, and you might have to replenish that, or you might want to save it for a boss. The other fun part about the gameplay loop is there are kind of like Gradius. There will be certain enemies that are red that'll be in amongst the group. If you shoot the ones that are red, it basically eliminates that whole group of enemies at the same time. So, and that always feels really good to do. It's a very satisfying gameplay loop that way too. And I played this exclusively with the Hori Switch arcade stick, actually, because I had seen that, being the sicko I am, I had seen that there's a very specific analog stick control that they enabled for this game. Let me see if I can find that. Yeah. Where... Yes, it supports the Micom Soft Cyber Stick USB controller, which was released as a reissue. This apparently this original controller came out for use with a handful of Genesis and Sega CD games, and I'm pretty sure it worked with the original, Striker Gear game. On that console. So then when the Genesis Mini and Mini 2 came out, this Micom Soft released a updated Cyber Stick that has full analog control that you can use for just a few of the games, of course, which makes it completely sicko and unnecessary and takes up a lot of space. But I can't help but be interested because the goddamn PC Steam version of this, if you have that stick, you could plug it in and you could have analog control for this game. And I want it, but I missed my window, and now it costs over $200 to import from Japan. And I don't know that I'm that sick. But playing with an arcade stick, all that to say, it was still felt fantastic, and it felt close enough to, I think, what they were getting at for how you'd want to experience this game. And also like Star Fox that I evoked before, similar to, say, like Star Fox 64 or games like Darius. you can once you defeat a level, you have then pathways where you can choose to go left or right and get a different kind of level that way in your run, and then kind of go from there. I've not completed the game, but I've gone to what's effectively like the last level out of a pathway of 4, because even with using continues, it's not so easy. And I know as I play it more, I'll be able to memorize it more in a very retro kind of way.
Yeah.
But I love it. It looks really nice too. I love the visual language, I guess, of this game and how fast it is too. It looks kind of like a souped up Saturn game, but widescreen.
It's so wild.
Yeah, I love that it's not going for like super sharp visuals. You know, I mean, they're sharp and everything, but it's going for like still has a retro 3D look.
Yes.
At the same time.
But it's also like I was looking at both screenshots and video, and it's wild how like the visual effects that they accomplish using like in video feels really dynamic and looks like really cool. When you see it as a screenshot, it is wild how like every individual component is so flat that it looks like a 2D screenshot when it's not in motion. Like, it's a really cool visual effect that I really haven't seen much.
Yeah. And that kind of checks out, too, because it's all just built on sprites, or at least the first one was. And this looks like it is, too, to be honest. It just like...
Yeah, I was going to say, and like in just looking at stills, the two games don't look all that much different. But then when I saw it in motion, I was like, oh, this one's definitely got like a 2.5D, 3D look to it, the new one.
Yeah.
As does the other one, but in a pixel art style. I don't think this one is using pixels, correct? This new one, kind of like a chunky pixel polygon hybrid.
Yeah,
yeah. What's the difference between a really like low res texture and pixel art? Like,
yeah, right. Yeah,
but it's so fun and it's so like exhilarating to play. It's so fast. It just feels like a well-developed arcade thing that I just want to get really good at. And I've only played it a handful of times, obviously, since it just came out. But I really like it.
Yeah. No, I definitely want to scoop this one up too. And it's like, I think it's like 18 or 19 bucks normal price. I know it's not a full 20. It was like a weird full price, like not 15, not 20. It was somewhere in the middle, but sounds like a more than fair price for the package.
And it's very rare for me to pick something up full price, you know, not on a sale
like
and,
day
and not
one
physically.
Or like right off the bat. Yeah.
But I was like, I have to.
And honestly, your excitement and like the message in our Discord was like enough to get me where I was like, it's under 20. Maybe I'll snag it real quick. But I was like, I got enough games. Like, I'll wait till it goes a little cheaper. But I do want to snag it for sure. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll hear a little bit more about that one if you manage to polish it off. But any more before we move on to the
if I get that controller.
Next chunk of games here?
No, I think that's
seriously.
It's good for me.
Good deal. Well, I'm gonna keep it in that retro shooter realm. Before we were talking here, and actually in our Discord, I was messaging the guys, particularly with Randall, because I know he's a big retro head. The Capcom arcade stadiums. They have Volume 1 and Volume 2. They're normally $40 each individually. And they come with they kind of work sort of, we were talking about it beforehand. You can like download each individual thing for free and then buy a bunch of games individually for $2 a piece. And each game has like 30 or 32 games in the package, or you can just do the $40 bundle and get them all. And then those $40 bundles were on sale on Switch the other day for like 13 or 14 bucks each. So I was like, okay, this is a no-brainer, even if less than half of these are what I'm in the mood for. And in particular, the one game, this isn't the game I'm going to talk about, but the one game that I was like really wanting to have on my Switch, and I've almost picked up on like the Capcom, I don't know if it's the fighting collection or what bundle it comes in, but now I'm drawing a blank on the name of the game. The not Gem Fighters, because that's one of the games that's in the collection, but the Puzzle Fighters, Super Puzzle Fighter.
Oh yeah, baby.
That's just a game I've been really wanting to have like at the ready on my Switch.
Absolutely.
And saw that was in one of the collections. So I was like, just that right there alone is, even if one more game's good in here, it's worth it for this.
Super Puzzle Fighter 2.
I'm about to drop here.
Turbo.
Yeah. So great. And just to give a quick shout out to Gem Fighter, I don't really understand the mechanics fully. I played it just for a quick second, but the characters look exactly the same as they do in Super Puzzle Fighter Turbo.
Yes.
But it's like a straight up fighting game, but it is like crazy. Like I was playing as Ken. I think I was Ken. Now I'm drawing a blank if I picked as somebody else, or if I selected somebody else, but I think I was Ken. And like when I was doing like my backwards attack, I would just like transform into like riding on a horse and like kick them with my shins. And then Zangief was like turning into all these different characters as he, pile drive me into the ground. Like it was just insanity, but it just seemed like it would be a great game to like pass around the controller, like a party game, and just like,
it's
okay,
a pretty
winner
game
take
too.
all. Yeah, it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. But actually, onto the games that I'm going to talk about here, and games that I really wasn't excited about being in the collection at all. I just kind of overlooked these because I've played them in a few different various, like, I think I had like a couple Capcom collections on the PS2 over the years, and I'm talking about the games in the, like, I don't know what to call it, but the 1940 series. There's 5 games in the series. The first one was 1942. The second one was 1943. The third one was 1941. The fourth one was 19XX. And then the fifth one was 1944. And these span from, the first one came out in 1984, and the last one came out in 2000. So a pretty huge span of time between all 5 of these games. And I think part of what hooked me in is like, I think I had probably played 42 maybe before, maybe 43, but whatever the first one was in the series, and it's solid and everything, but it's a little bit primitive. Like it feels like a arcade shoot 'em up from the 80s. And like I tend to lean towards the space shoot 'em ups or a little bit more fantastical settings. I just don't necessarily like this is just kind of World War II flying in a real plane and I'm fighting real planes. It's not as exciting to me, but I for whatever reason, I think I fired up 1941 first because I was thinking, it's the earliest year out of all these games, so it must be the oldest game because they're not in any kind of chronological order on this.
The battlefield naming convention.
Kinda, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it's actually funny because I tried looking up when I was looking right before we jumped on. I was looking up what year it came out, and when I looked up 1943, I think it's called Strikers 1943. Now that I think I totally or no, is there a Strikers in the name of the game?
No,
I don't think so. That might be something
1943, else. The Battle of Midway, and you got 1943 Kai. I'm seeing.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different so I did read that there's a bunch of different like kind of re-releases that kind of change things up, but there's essentially like the 5 games and then a few iterations of each of those. But nonetheless, I started playing 41, and it just looked a little better than I remember, like a little more personality to the pixel art, and you're kind of flying down this like kind of river tunnel. And then normally in a lot of these games, these brutal old arcade games, like you hit the wall, instant death. And in this game, you hit the wall and you just start spinning in like 360 degrees. So you don't take any damage, but it just kind of fucks up your aiming because but sometimes it kind of helps you out. You're like right up in close quarters and you just start spinning around and spraying bullets everywhere. And you like take out a couple extra enemies. So it isn't always necessarily a bad thing, but nonetheless, I was like, I don't remember this game having like as many modern touches like this. So I started playing some of the other ones, and 42 and 43 are fine. The first 2 in the series, like they're just solid, but XX and 44 are fucking amazing. And in particular, 44 is incredible. It's called 1944, The Loop Master. And right off the bat, right when you start, there's 15 stages in the game. And it says right off the bat, it's like 15 stages to go. And then every level, as soon as you beat it, it's just a continuation right into the next level. Like it gives you like a score screen, and then you're just take off from right where you landed for the last level. And if you were flying over the water, now it's a stage over the water. Or like you ended up on like I'm making this one up, but like on a volcano, now you're like right near. It's just so fluid, the experience. And then it's got this really great mechanic where like some of the earlier games in the series, you got your regular regular shooting and then your bombs. And then I think in the first 2 games, you have another button that you can do this like kind of like roll maneuver for a couple of times. I don't know if you can collect more of them, but like it kind of like brings you up above all the action. And it's not a screen clear. It just lets you kind of dodge and get out of the chaos for a minute.
Yep.
But this game doesn't let you do that. It just has bombs and shooting, but then you can also charge your shot. And if you fully charge it, you kind of do that same thing, but you go like way above the action, and then you start firing downwards at all the enemies. So you're like above any of the bullets. You can't get hit by anything, but you're firing down at the enemies, and it just feels so satisfying, especially because to charge your shot, you can't fire for a little while. You got to charge for like maybe like a second and a half, 2 seconds, maybe 3. That feels a little long, but like it's relatively quick, but it's a long enough time in a not quite bullet hell, but it gets bullet helly-ish. But you know, these are like true arcade ports, and I've been just kind of going with like, I'm going to pump 3/4 into the system and see how far I can get. And on this one, I'm able to get like 3, 4, 5 levels into the game without even using a credit or two.
That's cool.
So, and then once you die, it's just like, okay, I'm just like, I'm at my skill threshold for the moment, and like I'm just going to keep dying at this point. But I really like it's not like one-hit deaths. You got like a health meter. You can even pick up more health as you go, bulk up your power and stuff like that. And then in 19XX, it has like a very similar mechanic to that charge shot, but instead of going above and like flying above and getting out of the way, you more like charge up this like targeting reticle, and then whatever enemy you hit, it like kind of like highlights that enemy, and then you will just fire this like extra heavy fire artillery at that enemy until it blows, until you kill it, basically. So you're like kind of like highlighting or targeting that enemy, and like then just like firing these extra like laser beams on top of it. And like both of these games just look like they could have been on like the Dreamcast, you know, and like that Mars Matrix, Giga Wing kind of vein, particularly with 1944. And it's got even more of like it's more of like a 4x3. It's even a little wider than that, but it's like the other games have that more narrow, vertical scrolling. But this one really widens things out with the 5th one in the release. And again, I'm just so glad. Just these 5 games alone are worth it to me. Even honestly, just 19XX and 1944, and 41's great too. And again, 42, 43, a lot of fun as well, especially if you like seeing the history of how things went. But yeah, I was just really, really kind of taken by surprise by these, kind of thinking, oh, I've played these on the other collections and been kind of bored by them. And it was just couldn't have been further from the case with some of the later ones in the series. So just really, really glad I went back and revisited these. And I don't know what it is about a shmup, but I guess it's just the visuals. Even especially in 44, again, like every time you beat a boss, it does these like cinematic, like a film reel will come across and like show some cuts, like, I don't know, just like almost like little images of the ship blowing up that you just defeated or something like that. Nice. And it's so stylish. It's incredible. I kind of forgot how good some of these Capcom arcade games can be, and I'm really excited to dive a little deeper into these arcade stadium collections.
I'm shocked too. I'm looking at the Wikipedia pages for 1944 and 19XX, and both of those only came out on arcade. Like,
I know,
no
I was half
releases.
thinking, yeah, I was like, did it come out in Japan anywhere? Like, did it get released anywhere? It's crazy.
Yeah.
So really, really glad to have some of these on this collection, and really can't recommend if you see this on sale. I'm assuming they if they do it once, they're prone to do it again. So definitely recommend scooping these up, or just downloading that free like kind of starter pack with the 1 or 2 games in it, and then cherry picking the handful of games for $2 a piece that you might like. I mean, for $10 you could have all 5 of these 1940 games in the series. So pretty cool stuff.
Nice.
But why don't I kick it over to you here, John, to wrap us up for the evening? I think a little bit outside of the retro realm, but maybe not quite.
I've been bouncing around. So a thing that I've been doing, if you've been listening to the podcast over the past month or couple months, I've just been playing through a lot of shooter campaigns that either I haven't played in a long time or haven't played ever. So I was playing through the Halo Master Chief Collection and finished the Halo 1 campaign and the Halo 2 campaign in the original graphics because I wanted to experience them exactly how they looked, even if I got frequently lost in the dark, because that was their version of like volumetric fog of like draw distance. Is just like, we'll just put you in a really dark hallway that you have to use a flashlight to navigate through. Like there were a couple points where, you know, either I just got lost in these like really large arenas or just levels that were huge, like early stage open world, like shooter levels that was new at the time, and like putting on the like remastered graphics or whatever the new version of them, they would have like in it like inevitably just like better guiding to you. There would be like, oh, here's like basically an arrow of lights that wasn't in the original game that is kind of guiding you to the next point. So like anytime I would get lost, I would switch over to the new graphics just to kind of get my bearings and go back onto like the critical path.
That's sweet.
But I really liked like Halo 1 and Halo 2. And like I started Halo 3, I got midway through it and it was good, but like I don't know, it was starting to lose its luster, and like I think I just enjoyed the kind of the more simple games from like that era. But even still, like those weren't scratching an itch, so I started up Titanfall 2 again just to like play that campaign now that I've played a lot more shooters and have like, you know, it's a game that I've already played through and I really enjoyed. So I was going to see how it like looked with fresh eyes, and that was fun. Yeah. Like I enjoyed doing that for a bit, but that still wasn't scratching the itch. So like I was just bouncing around from game to game until I was thinking about, so I've been making a game with Kevin's and my bandmate Mikee, and Mikee has always talked up Cyberpunk 2077 as a game that he really enjoyed. And I played through an hour of it, like maybe a year ago, and enjoyed it a little bit, but I kind of hated the, like, it's the beginning of one of these open world, like action RPG games. So you have to play through like this introduction mission, which kind of like feeds you all of the mechanics. And I was getting kind of systems weary and tutorial weary, and I wasn't like that. It was just enough for me to not want to continue with it. But for whatever reason, now I was like, you know, I really want something different. None of these like first person shooters that I've been playing, or like shooter campaigns I've been playing, have been scratching that itch. So like I booted it up, finished the mission that I was in, and then immediately just deviated from the critical path and started only doing side missions and like ignoring the main quest of the story. And instantly I started having a much better time with the game when it was like, like I was still like every once in a while doing a main mission and then unlocking a new system that is like critical to the gameplay of the game. So like there was this tension where I was like, okay, I need to keep playing like these main missions in order to unlock more features in the game. But they really weren't the thing that I was enjoying in doing it. Like I was enjoying kind of the Skyrim of it all, where I was just going to a random place and this guy comes up to me with a sub quest, and I was like, yes, this is all I want to do.
Yes.
Like it was fun, but like eventually like I got to the point where it's like, all right, well, if I want to like actually unlock more of the map, I needed to do like the main quests. And then I've just been in the middle of another main quest, and like today I was like, well, I could either pick back this scripted thing that looks gorgeous. They've put a ton of time and like scripting into like all of the beats of where every character moves is like really impactful and really well staged. But I'm like, I really just want to play RoboQuest again. So I just booted up RoboQuest and played a fun like shooter roguelike for way longer, because I just want to play the gun part of the game. Like it's so
especially because I'm assuming you're partially playing this for like, you know, research or whatever. For
partially,
like, you know, trying to figure out what you like in certain games and what you don't like and what you can use in the game that you guys are working on. So
and it's so frustrating because at the end of the day, so much of the time I'm just like, yeah, I guess I kind of just want to boot up Destiny 2 again. But every time I do, it just makes me madder and madder. So
I was going to say, wasn't that the game that like made you want to start working on a game in the first place?
But like nothing else is scratching the itch right now. It's like, it's.
Now I have a question.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, it's just like, it is that like being frustrated of like a game not catering to what you want it to be, or like not being able to find a game that scratches that itch. Like, also what I've been doing is I've been playing Metroid Prime 2 again, is because like I keep playing these older like shooter games, and I was like, Metroid Prime, like the series had it done so much better in so many more interesting ways. Like, I usually play all of these shooter games with like the sound basically off, because they like aren't really that fun or interesting to be in for extended periods of time. And then like I go to one area in Metroid Prime and I'm just like, I just want to listen to this song. Like, I don't even want to move around. Like, the environments and like every like atmosphere feels so good in that game. And I just want to like have that gameplay loop from another thing, like married to it. It's it's fun, but like, I don't know.
What I was going to ask you was going back to Halo, when you got to Halo 3, do you think there's any part of like not getting sucked in or enamored by Halo 3 or whatever? Do you think part of that might be that you just went from like 1 to 2 to 3, where like anybody who was playing them at the time, you know, would have had a couple years in between each game? Because like 3 was, I think, the first one on 360, so I remember that being like a big deal. Like, oh man, like next gen Halo. Like, I just remember that launching and stuff like that and being a big deal. So I'm wondering if it would have hit a little better if you were, you know, in the moment and, you know, anticipating the game and having a few years in between or something, or a couple years. I don't know how long they, or how far apart they released.
And I'm also like looking at them, like every time I play a new Halo campaign, I guess, like I'll just be comparing it to Destiny, where I was like, this is like, they're doing some really interesting thing with the level design, or like this entire mission in the Halo campaign, I think, is so long, but if like they had broken it up in like shorter chunks, but like then it wouldn't be as cohesive. And every time that the Halo does a like scene change, it like takes away the UI and has like basically like a little title card of the next like section of the mission. I was like, that's just nice. It's fun to experience. Like, these are retro games in that respect. So like seeing those like very early kind of film quality to like video games,
the cinematic choices they made.
But like before, it was like rote and like in every game. So like it was kind of nice to see it in something so early, like from the early 2000s, do that. So like that was fun too. Well, but it definitely does come from like a historical perspective than like being there and like playing it in the years that it came out and growing attached to it then.
I think there's also just a big difference with like just having that split, you know, maybe 5 seconds of here's the new area you just got to, and look over the vista of what you're going to do, versus the whole thing is very scripted and you just feel like you're, you know, barely controlling a thing that's, you know, more or less on rails and not in a good way. Like a lot of modern shooters can feel. I think there's a big difference there.
I love being able to explore, and like that's one thing that I love about Destiny is that there are just nooks and crannies everywhere that don't necessarily have anything in them, and it's just kind of there if you want to look for it. And like I see that also like in bits and pieces in the Halo campaigns, where I was like, you've always wanted to do this. Or like you get to a vehicle section in the early Halo games and it's like, wow, you guys were really bad at it back then. Like you guys really figured it out by the time Destiny rolled around.
People wanted to get in that Warthog.
Let me tell you, every vehicle in Destiny like just makes everything in Halo miserable.
I feel like that checks out.
That's funny, because that definitely, I feel like it was like a point of praise at the time for Halo. It was like, oh, they like switched the camera to third person. So much better, and like, which it does, but it's great.
When I have the gunner spot,
continue to improve on it.
Give me the Ghost. I think that's the best of the vehicles. But
the alien technology, right?
And like I like being, it's kind of that Space Harrier where you're on the ground and you have the shooter, but you don't have to figure out flight in space like the Banshee does.
Right. Yeah.
I just like running over other characters in those. That's what I remember the most.
Yeah. Just mowing them down.
Yeah. Simple pleasures.
Little taste of GTA and your Halo. Yeah.
Basically. Yeah.
Oh, man. I don't know. Anything else you want to add on to that, John?
Not for this week.
Nice. I'm kind of excited. I kind of forget. I always forget. I mean, I don't forget that you and Mikey are working on that game, but like when I'm like, oh, John's playing more shooters, that's like not always his cup of tea, like to just be like on that kick for so long. But then I'm like, oh, he must be doing a little studying. So that's awesome.
I'm doing a lot of research and I have I've been forming worse and worse opinions with each game.
Well, God, it's a dangerous slope too when you can start like justifying playing a game for like research or whatever. Or when I'm always being like, oh, I got to like play more of this so I can make a video for it or talk about it on the podcast. It's just so easy to like justify spending even more time on playing video games than I already do. So
if I download Apex Legends again, like that's a call for help. Like, please stop me.
Oh man, good stuff. Good stuff. Well, yeah, anything else for anyone here before we wrap things up for the night? Or Good deal. Well, yeah, as always, you can find us on the internet at pursuingpixels.com and pretty much anywhere else. Just look up Pursuing Pixels and you can probably find us somewhere. And otherwise, until next week, we'll catch you then and take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Fun, yeah. Requires agreement to a third-party EULA. I love having an end-user license agreement for a thing I
Playing
own.
a fucking game.
Yeah.
You don't own it.
How arrogant of me.
Yeah.
You just paid money for it.
God, it's the worst, man.
Yeah.
Life is just the worst.